So I think we are live. Just let me check on the Facebook once. And then we start. All right, sir, we are live. Can I start, sir?
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right. All right. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you for joining us today. Good evening, respected guest and dear attendees on behalf of Social Tables family. Thank you so much for investing your time with us today evening. I'm Kalpana Chaudhary, a social worker by profession and a founder of Social Tables, managing trustee and chairperson of Jan Seva Foundation Being the Change, Lagna.com, a matrimony portal for differently able and acid attack survivors, TEDx speaker and active member at FICCI Flow and CIIW in Maharashtra. Before diving into guest introduction, let me introduce you to Social Tables. We at Social Tables are committed towards sustainable development, societal well-being, and environmental consciousness. We engage with global leadership, diplomacy, informative panel, inspiring speakers, impactful leaders, talent developers, and engaging audience. Every week we bring out to you some of the Every week, we bring out to you some of the brightest minds from diverse sector to discuss over few significant ongoing issues. In this week's speaker series, we have our special guest, Dr. Shekhar C. Mande. Dr. Mande is the Director General of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and Secretary Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Government of India. He has done his doctorate in philosophy in molecular biophysics from the Institute of Science and MSc from Nagpur University, Nagpur. He has been involved in various fellowship and membership of professional bodies such as Fellow Indian National Science Academy, Delhi, elected during 2010, Wellcome Trust International Research Fellow 2003 to 2008, Fellow National Academy of Science, Allahabad, India, elected 2003, Fellow Indian Academy of Science, Bangalore, elected 2003. He have also received many awards and honors, including H.K. Firodia Award 2019, B.C. Guna Memorial Award of the Indian National Science Academy 2017, B.K. Bachawat Memorial Award of the National Academy of Science India 2017, Shashi Swaroop Bhatnagar Prize for Biological Science 2005, B.M. Birla Young Scientist Award 1919, and the list goes on. Today, we will discuss on the global societal challenge, innovation, and sustainable development. On that note, let's begin our session today. So, once again, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you
Are you
so
there?
much.
Yeah. So the very first question I would ask, what is the solution to global societal challenge that would create jobs and improve the quality of life of citizens?
First of all, thank you so much for this kind invitation. And I'm able to share my views with you and your followers. So it's my pleasure doing that.
Thank you so much.
So you asked me about global societal challenges and creation of jobs. What we should realize is that the World Economic Forum brings out a report on future of jobs every year. And the last year's future of jobs for cabinet also gives country-wise forecasts and things like that. And it's a bit concerning. It says that many of the people educated in India would probably require reskilling. I mean, if you look at the India-specific recommendations of future of jobs. So what it requires actually means is that to meet the demand of the future, we need to reskill our younger generation as they come out of their formal education system. Right?
Ab-
That's point number one. The point number two is the challenge is to create jobs and ensure economic growth without consuming our natural resources. I mean, of course, we'll consume natural resources, but the impact on environment should not be seen just simply because we actually want to use it for our own benefit. Mankind wants to use it for our benefit. So the real key is economic growth, social equity, and environmental protection. So what we need to do, actually, the societal challenge is how actually we are going to balance between all of this and make sure that there is sufficient the resources for everyone,
Mm,
that we maintain social equity,
mm,
and we ensure that every person on the planet, not the least in our country, benefits by this particular growth. So sustainable development is actually the real key for this particular angle. What we have seen in the recent past is the pandemic. And the
mm,
pandemic was forecast for several years, not because of SARS-CoV-2, but some sort of pandemic would come, has been forecast by many theoreticians.
mm,
And as a fallout of the pandemic, what we have seen is
mm,
a massive reverse migration of people from urban to rural areas.
mm,
So many of these people appear to have, on the face of it, lost their livelihood, what they were actually having happy livelihood in cities. So
mm,
our challenge also is how are we going to engage these people who have acquired certain skills when they went to the urban areas and when they go back to the rural areas. So
mm.
all of these actually comprehensively together, we need to take a holistic view of societal challenge on job creation and ensuring that there is equity and surety for every person in the country.
Absolutely, sir. So we have to look at the global challenges with global perspectives. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, we live in the global world, and as what we have seen increasingly in last 1 century, is that the world has become more and more global. All of us across the globe have become more and more closer, thanks to transportation, thanks to communication, and whole lot of things. So therefore, all the challenges that we see today must have a global perspective. We
Mm,
all use resources which are global. So unless we take a global perspective, I don't think we as a mankind are going to progress much in all of this. For example, we had, as I said, I told you a little bit earlier that scientists had predicted a major pandemic coming through, although we did not know that SARS-CoV-2 that will come through, but some this kind of pandemic. Scientists have been predicting for a long time that climate change is real. And
yes.
what we are looking at is something very, very serious matter for mankind.
Mm,
I mean, we can't just simply wait for it.
mm,
So that's a global problem.
mm,
And therefore, that's a global challenge. And
mm,
therefore, it is a global perspective,
mm,
right? So although we worry about our local issues, all our local issues at some point of time have a global perspective. And
mm,
we must address them very effectively.
mm. So how do we tackle these global challenges with innovation? Why innovation is important in achieving the sustainable development?
See, innovation has always been historically the key in the growth of mankind. I mean, you look at innovation starting from something like 15,000 years ago, when humans were just about to start farming.
Mm,
You know, the first of the human being you can just think of who could think of cultivating plants as a food resource.
mm,
Agriculture was not yet in practice. We were
mm,
still foraging our food here and there. We were hunters and gatherers. But at some point of time, someone must have thought that if we grow certain kinds of plants, there is a great source of food. There is an innovation
mm,
that existed 15,000 years ago. It even existed much before, when we are hunter gatherers to
mm,
kill animals to gather our fruit, to gather our food, or
mm,
gather fruits and vegetables from different sources. We
mm,
actually were making certain kinds of instruments. So innovation has always been the key to human development, and it's going to continue this for several years to come. And what we have seen increasingly in the last about 100 years is the tech-led innovation. The science and tech-led innovation is the one that is actually playing a major role now in the modern lifetime for our growth in general.
mm,
I will tell you two examples from CSR labs. Because I'm a CSR man,
yes.
I should actually give two very good examples. Rather, I've restricted myself to one because we may not have time to
Oh,
discuss so
we do
many.
have a time, so please.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let me give one very nice example.
Yes, sir.
CSIR has piloted a program called Aroma Mission.
Okay.
You know, Aroma Mission essentially is to popularize cultivation of aromatic plants
Mm.
among farmers and so on and so forth. And many
Mhm.
different kinds of aromatic plants, with vetiver, lemongrass, citronella, and things like that. Now, what it brings actually, it brings a lot of value to the farmers. Right?
Mhm.
Now, okay, we promoted cultivation of lemongrass in Himachal Pradesh. Now,
Okay.
lemongrass is essentially a grass which grows anyway. You don't require too much maintenance. You don't require too much watering or something like that. It's a kind of a wild grass, right? Now, we told the farmers that they can grow lemongrass in their apple orchards.
Oh.
Okay. In the apple orchards, they started growing lemongrass on the ground. Apple trees are bigger, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were much bigger than lemongrass, how it can grow. Now it solved two problems in one go. It's a very beautiful example.
Mm.
The farmers used to have problem of monkeys and pigs. It's a very common problem in Himachal Pradesh if you go there. And because of that, they used to destroy all their apple crop and other things. So what happened was lemongrass is kind of irritating on the skin. If you have looked at it, you have on the skin. So when the farmers started growing lemongrass on the ground, the problem got solved in no time. The pigs,
Wow.
the pigs and monkeys stopped coming into that particular one.
That's
So this,
innovation.
absolutely, what do you call it? And on the top of that, they actually got more value, economic value, out of harvesting that lemongrass. So
Wow.
if you take the lemongrass and derive aromatic oil from here, you get so double benefit. I mean, this kind of thing. That's an absolute example of innovation in modern times, and I'm very proud that CSR has piloted that. And one can actually go and see in Himachal Pradesh how grateful are the farmers to all of us. Whichever village you go, they all of us actually start, I mean, doing this and all to us. I mean that we have been
नजर नहीं लग जाए.
exactly. You know, that's one story of innovation.
Yes, yes.
Uh, I must tell you, when I said about tech led innovation, the fact that we live in a world in which we must make sure that we consume as little resources from Mother Planet as possible. You know, and what typically people call it, let us say something like circular economy or things like that. Whatever you start using, you
Mm.
completely make use of all that aspects so that you don't waste anything for polluting the planet.
Mhm.
So the example of this I would like to give another CSR example because I'm a CSR man. Is that of potash.
Mm.
So what happens is that our country, we import lot of potash from outside.
Okay.
Potash is a manure. I mean, what the farmers use and all in the fields. Correct.
Okay.
We don't have actually a good source of potash in the country. There is a source of potash, but I mean, we don't have enough source of potash. So we end up importing a large chunk of potash in the country. Now, potash sources are plenty. There are stones and rocks which are sources of potash, but plants also a source of potash. Now, we have a very thriving ethanol industry in the country. The sugarcane, the
Mm.
sugarcane when it goes into ethanol, making ethanol. So, if you go to the distilleries, when you are making ethanol out of sugarcane, it generates a very thick brown liquid. You know,
Yeah.
as what is it called as the spent wash. This
Mm.
liquid we call spent wash. This
Mhm.
liquid has a very foul odor, has
Mm.
low pH, so it will pollute the ground. And therefore no pollution control board would allow you that the byproduct of the entire ethanol industry, the spent wash, to discharge it into water bodies or even discharge it in the ground because it's polluting.
Mhm.
What is spent wash? Spent wash is nothing but the remaining part after extracting ethanol out of the
But
molasses and the sugarcane juice.
sugar
So
cane.
essentially, it's partly organic matter and partly inorganic matter. Would you
Mhm.
be able to separate them apart? And
Mhm.
indeed, we can. If you have a chemical engineering process, we can actually separate the two. You
Wow.
take the organic matter outside, that becomes an excellent cattle feed. All right, we did that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What then we take out inorganic matter aside, that inorganic matter is nothing but potash.
Wow.
So this potash we can actually start using it for all our farmers and fields and all. What
Wow.
remains behind is pure water. Now this water, no one would object if you discharge in running water or reuse it for agriculture purposes or simply discharge it into the ground, something like that. So this is what we call as a prime example of circular economy. We
Wow.
started with a harvest of sugarcane. We converted it into ethanol. Whatever spent wash came out of it, we generated animal feed. We generated potash. We reduced the import burden of the country on potash, right? At the same time, the cattle benefited. We did experiments with India kernel and all, and showed that it is actually extremely useful as a cattle feed. So beautiful example of circular economy, and therefore innovations like this, the lemongrass and this, I'm going to get told you only two examples. You can actually go on talking about many different examples of innovation, are the key to the growth of mankind. We have always followed it. Our culture in our country has, we have been very, very proud inheritance of several kinds of different kinds of innovations, and we must continue the tradition as a country.
That's such a wonderful example, sir. I mean, you have literally recycled everything and given back to the nature and the mother planet again. So that's a that those this kind of innovations are most welcome, and I'm sure our audience are listening and they would get more inspired to get into something like this. So it's just recycling. That's really works well. Well, so how science, technology, and innovation can work together to create a new model of sustainable development.
See, I told you about innovation, and most of the innovations are actually science and tech led. Most, I mean, I'm not saying all,
Okay.
most of them, right? And to be an innovator, you don't need to be a trained scientist. You
Hmm.
know, you don't have to go to science school, you don't have to earn PhD to be
Hmm.
a true innovator. There are
Oh.
innovations lying in society all across, you know, and there are grassroots innovations that you would be surprised that how our villagers and all across India have been actually innovating for their local community benefit. That's absolutely amazing. Our country is full of such kind of examples, and therefore innovation is actually a true sense human mind,
Hmm.
which allows you to basically make sure that whatever you learn out of nature or while growing up, you try to use it once again for the benefit of your community or the population or
Hmm.
the entire country and so on and so forth. Now, science and tech-led innovation is slightly different. Although it's part of that, science and tech-led innovation actually allows you to use principles of science and technology
Hmm.
into integrate that into innovation. What I told you just now, that innovation is common. You don't need to be a scientist or technologist to be an innovator. But science and technology-led innovation is actually also very important. And I
Hmm.
gave you just now one example of potash. That's actually a science and tech-led innovation. You would require a background in chemistry and chemical engineering to
Hmm.
understand that, you know. And this is actually a major driver of growth. SNT leg innovation would actually essentially be a very, very major driver of growth. And no economies or no countries would afford to ignore SNT led innovation. And therefore, what I would like to suggest to our viewers is that for every development program in the country, especially in our country,
Hmm.
or every economic package that we are thinking of, must get either a paragraph or a chapter on how science and technology would develop help in developing that particular sector.
Hmm.
So any sector that you can think of, there would be S&T and innovation led development in that particular sector, and that's actually a very, very powerful way for the future.
So can I say now is the time to revive the sustainable development goals?
That's a somewhat difficult question. You see, I mean, the Sustainable Development Goals were formed only about 5 years ago or something, about 17 goals
Hmm.
by the United Nations. At the time of formation of Sustainable Goals, or rather till about 6 months ago, all of us were working very hard towards meeting these objectives of the goals. And we should be proud that India is actually is well on course on many of these. You know, I mean, although we are falling short of the objectives globally, not only India, but
Globally.
we are doing actually much better in many different respects.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
What we did not see about 6 months ago, that a pandemic or a calamity is right on the face of us at that particular point of time. And that exploded literally. With no prior information, it exploded upon us. So we are in the midst of an unprecedented global pandemic
Hmm.
where all of us are impacted.
Hmm.
The pandemic has an enormous impact on our economy and the
Hmm.
world. And we are going to take a long, long time to recover from this, both economically as well as socially. Now, how does the 17 sustainable goal integrate with this particular pandemic?
Hmm.
Now, sustainable development goals that eliminate poverty, hunger, inequality, are actually part of the pandemic anyway. But
Hmm.
even more prominently, to promote health and well-being are also a part of sustainable development goals. And
Hmm.
that's exactly actually what we should really focus on, that the lesson that we should learn from the pandemic, that the sustainable goals actually have been well formulated, and
Hmm.
therefore we must focus on achieving the key objectives of this sustainable goals. So we should not really lose the focus on these particular sustainable goals in the coming time.
All
Now, United Nations has recently actually indicated
right.
that there's some sort of an unwelcome suspicion that the coronavirus pandemic has put these goals a bit out of reach.
Yes.
Because we have been, all of us have been thrown off balance,
Hmm.
and we don't know how we are actually going to still meet these goals into this.
Hmm.
And before the pandemic hit us, among the 17 sustainable goals, we were actually well on course to meet at least two of them. That is preventing deaths among newborns and getting children into primary school. So
Yes.
government of India has a very strong program into this, and that program seems to be actually working well. There's
Hmm.
another something called Paris Agreement, in
Hmm.
which we had said that the rise in temperature should be restricted to about 2 degrees Celsius,
Yes.
and India committed that India would actually go to non-conventional energy generation,
Hmm.
not depend upon fossil fuel or something for energy generation. And that also India was doing pretty well. Although
Hmm.
the goals that we have set are very ambitious, we are doing pretty well on those things. So to give a short answer to what you asked, I think the sustainable goals have been very well formulated, and we should try to actually attempt to meet the sustainable goals in the first place, and then we can go on adding or modifying some
Ah,
parts of the sustainable development goals.
all right. Very well said, sir. So, what kind of innovation would you advise government in developing country to adopt reforming its waste management sector?
Yes. So the waste management is a very, very critical
Very
aspect.
well.
Is an extremely critical aspect. And it's very, it has actually assumed proportions which are kind of disproportionate in
Hmm.
cities
Hmm.
than in the villages.
Hmm.
I mean, and our villages have always been some sort of self-contained societies in which traditionally our villages have always been very conscious of the waste management.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you look at our society 100, 200, 400 years ago, the way our society has developed, our rural areas have always been very conscious of
Hmm.
the waste development issues and things like that.
Hmm.
On today's date, because of the urbanization of the society,
Hmm.
waste management is actually proving out to be a very big challenge, you know,
Hmm.
and that actually is a challenge that we must meet, you know,
Hmm.
and we must have a multi-pronged approach
Hmm.
that deals with technology and innovation in terms of waste management. So
Hmm.
how do we actually use this waste management?
Hmm.
I would like to once again give examples from CSR labs. One of the artifactual things that has happened in last 100 years
Hmm.
or less than that is the increasing use of polymers and plastics in our society.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not actually blaming polymers and plastics. They have actually made our lives so much easier.
Hmm.
Many different uses that we find for this particular issue. But the byproducts of this are not biodegradable, and that invariably puts pressure on the environment. So we must now, science and technology and innovation, must find ways of recycling that.
Hmm.
And our lab in Dehradun, the Indian Institute of Petroleum, they have found ways of recycling plastics to
Hmm.
generate fuel, diesel and things like that. And that
Hmm.
actually is a very good innovation, something like that. Our lab in Delhi, the National Physical Laboratory, generates tiles out of plastic.
Wow.
Our lab in the Delhi, the Central Road Research Institute, they
Ah,
generate roads out of plastic. They make
yes.
tar roads of plastic. So
Hmm.
all this actually can be used out of waste material. Similarly, lot of reusable things can actually be made out of waste. So our focus should be how are we going to reuse and generate value out of this particular waste, Instead of dumping them into dump yards,
Hmm.
the dump yards are actually assuming very dangerous proportions in the modern day. I don't have to go into the examples of that. But we must actually find out ways of reusing this waste. And I would say that organizations like CSIR, IITs, and some other national labs, they have a very important role to play in
Hmm.
coming up with technologies that are scalable and that are implementable economically, so that we actually reduce the burden of wasting anything in the environment.
Wow, that's wonderful. So, you mean to say that the marbles made out of plastic are being used in the homes?
People use it as garden tiles and things like that.
Oh, that's wonderful and very innovative again.
And NPL has actually supported, the National Physical Laboratory has supported a few startups and few MSMEs out of this. And they are
Oh,
already making it. And we are very happy that we also get to contribute to the society that way, that we have promoted these startups and they're already making these tiles out of plastics.
and how do you support the startups, sir, in terms of finance or in terms of just the
More intellectually, we
more
actually help them,
intellectual?
we handhold them in
Hmm.
scaling up this. We transfer our technology to them. And
Hmm.
because they're startups, they're very close to our heart. So
Hmm.
we try to see that they succeed in
Hmm.
doing what they're doing.
Wonderful. And what areas are you seeing the most exciting innovation happening? And what one innovation are you most excited about in the world of sustainable business at the moment?
See, there are quite a few that we can see that it's very difficult to pinpoint one particular area. Let us talk of a thing that I have not talked till now. Is you have heard the buzzwords called artificial intelligence,
Yes,
machine
AI.
learning, and things like that. And they are expected to play a major role in much of our STI, the science, technology, innovation, in the coming time. And there are many, many different areas that we see foresee that artificial intelligence, machine learning will actually play a very important role. You
Mhm.
know, two major sectors that we see would see a major transformation in the coming time are health and agriculture, which
Mhm.
would use more and more AI and ML tools for this thing. So already we are seeing in the COVID time,
Mhm.
our laboratory in Delhi, the Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology,
Mhm.
have come up with very elegant AI algorithms
Mhm.
and collecting lakhs of X-ray and CT photographs or tomograms, and from there, using AI and ML algorithms, they predicted whether the person is likely to be affected with COVID or not, or something. You
Mhm.
know, and
Oh.
there's a wonderful innovation in that particular scene. Similarly, we are actually going to see increasingly something called personalized medicine. You know, when all of us are made up of very unique genetic makeup, you
Mhm.
know, and therefore the way we respond to medicines is different. Each one of us individually will react to different kind of medicines differently, you know,
Yeah.
and to assess that we need something called a personalized medicine approach to tell
Mhm.
you whether a particular medicine would be effective on you or not.
Mhm.
See, we are already seeing in COVID pandemic, right? Some people in COVID pandemic don't develop any symptoms at all. They're asymptomatic.
Mhm.
Some people have to just get away with mild fever and a few sneezes here and there.
Mhm.
Some people have to go to hospitals.
Mhm.
Some people even may end up in ICUs, and a fraction of people are also dying. So we
Mhm.
are already seeing a very varied response of COVID, and that is because of our genetic makeup, principally. You know, so we react differently to different situations,
Mhm.
including health hazards like this, or
Mhm.
including medicines. And that actually is called personalized medicine way. And we are going to see increasing use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in this. So that's a very, very exciting innovation. Same way, AI and ML will also play increasingly major role in agriculture,
Mhm.
you know, assessing local agricultural conditions, the
Mhm.
soil condition, the weather condition, the environmental factors, and all of that will actually help you increasing the yield of your agricultural product. So we are actually going to see some very exciting developments on this. And because you asked me to say one thing, I told you one thing, but there are many other things that we can talk about.
I'm sure. And lastly, you can share the second one if you wish to.
Oh no, I mean we are actually going to see a plenty of development in many different sectors.
Yeah.
The very innovative ways of water management is
Hmm.
actually also going to be one part of it. We are actually heading towards a very water scarce situation in the coming 50 or 100 years. And we're increasingly going to see very innovative solutions in water management in the
Hmm.
coming time. Waste management I've already talked about. So we are actually going to see many of those things coming up in the future.
Yeah, that's the need of the hour. And as soon as possible it is launched, it is better for our planet as well. And even for us and even the animals too. Animals also are suffering a lot. All right, sir. And lastly, what is the best way to get innovation teams to consider life cycle assessment as part of the future design when budget and time is tight?
So, as I said, that innovation need not necessarily only happen in the scientific laboratories. Innovation can happen on all different fronts, and it's very important to keep in mind that life cycles of products are very important from the beginning. So, when we develop any new product, it's important to assess what is going to be its life cycle, how much reusable it is going to be after its expiry, and
Hmm.
how actually we reduce impact on environment and general ecosystem of that end of life product. So it's actually very, very important that we do this assessment
Hmm.
even as the product development is in the process.
Hmm.
You know, so the innovation teams therefore can consider both the push and pull model. What you say
Hmm.
is to encourage this innovation team by incentives, but
Hmm.
also enabling development of the entire ecosystem.
Hmm.
And as I said, innovation being not restricted to labs alone, scientific labs alone,
Hmm.
it's important that even if the budgets are tight, we
Hmm.
should continuously strive to be a better, more and more innovative society in general.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you, Dr. Mandeji, for your wonderful inputs. We have learned a lot from you in just few minutes. Indeed, very knowledgeable, insightful, and inspiring session it was. Now, moving to a little fun part of it, rapid fire. Who inspires you the most, sir?
Yeah, I think our society, our people, they always drive many of us. The
Hmm.
way you see people living in very varied conditions, especially the people who live in rural areas, people who are less endowed than all of us,
Hmm.
they are the ones which actually drives most of us. You know, they give us a kick that
Hmm.
we must work, we must strive harder to work for them.
Absolutely. And only 24 hours is all what we have. What is the greatest risk you have ever taken?
Greatest what?
Risk.
Oh, I think being the Director General of CSR, I would say is very high on the list. Probably I shouldn't have been here.
All
But
right. Okay. And what is the most memorable moment of your life? You
oh,
make me laugh.
right. Oh, there are plenty of memorable moments. As scientists, we actually get kick when we discover something new in the lab. I mean, always, and there are always eureka moments for all of us in our laboratories. And if we are chasing a particular hypothesis,
Hmm.
and it turns out that hypothesis is true,
Hmm.
that's actually is what we all strive for. And these
Hmm.
are the kind of great moments that many of us have in the labs. So we can describe many of those when we are actually trying to look for something.
Hmm.
Recently, we have been looking for the possible causes
Hmm.
of the dichotomy of the case fatality rate
Hmm.
due to COVID-19 between the rich and the poor nations.
Oh.
I have not yet published the manuscript, but I would say that it is a great revelation for us to go for the reasons and try to understand what the reasons are behind the dichotomy, that why more people are dying in the rich countries and why less people are dying in the poor countries. And that's
Hmm.
a scientific question. And we actually seem to have an answer. And these are the kind of thing that drive the scientists like us, actually.
Wow. So everyone needs that kind of a cake once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep you moving. Right. So if you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?
Well, we would strive to make the world better. We will try to make the world more equitable. We'll try to see the world more participatory,
Hmm.
where every person in society has a say in certain things. Every
Hmm.
person in the society has a right to live in at least meet the basic needs,
Hmm.
and we don't have any kind of discrimination, whether it be it on gender, whether it be it on the language that we speak, or whether it be our socio-economic background. That's the world that actually we would like to see, and if we get a chance, I would like to change that.
Such a noble thought, sir. Thank you so much. And place where you love being the most?
Pardon me.
Place where you love being the most? Any,
uh,
maybe Himalaya,
yeah, I mean,
oh,
love the mountains anyway.
mountains.
I'm an avid trekker.
Oh,
Although now the trekking has gone down, but even after coming to assuming this particular job, I have
hmm.
trekked in the Himalayas, so
Wow.
it would love to be there.
Oh, how wonderful is that? And your favorite hobby, sir?
I play music. So I'm learning to play sitar, and I have a very distinguished guru in Pune. She's very leading sitaris of the country, of the world, I should say. And I'm learning from her, and I really enjoy doing that.
So I wish you were at home. I would have asked you to just play a little bit for us.
My guru is a very revered person. I mean, like, we really like her a lot, and she's an extremely good player. Srimati
I'm sure.
Sahana Banerjee,
Okay.
and really love getting lessons from her.
Absolutely, sir. And sir, and the last question, if you were to be the prime minister for a day, what is the first thing you would do?
Uh, I don't think I would like to be in that position. I
Achha,
don't think people like me should
why not?
go and assume those kind of positions. Yeah, I
All
mean,
right.
there are people. Our current prime minister is doing an extraordinary job. He is
Hmm.
leading the country through the crisis extraordinarily well, and those are the kind of people that you need to lead the nation, not people like me.
Nahin, nahin. Everybody has their own charm and thing. But yes, I totally agree that Modi ji is transformed India and he's taken us globally as well.
Absolutely, I agree very much on that.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing with me. So, a message for social tables.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be amongst all of you, and let us join hands
Yes.
in transforming our society through science and technology. Trust me that every problem that we think of in society has a science, technology, and innovation led solution.
True.
And if you trust the scientists and the technologies of the country, I am sure that every problem that we face will have a proper solution, which is acceptable to all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank you
offering
so much.
this. No, no, sir, I still have some more thing to ask you. Thank you so much for such a kind words. And yes, it is very important to collaborate and, work together as a society, as a community to the most, at least vulnerable people who are not being accessible to things what they have to be. Well, so sir, before we conclude, what word of wisdom or an advice would you like to give to our audience?
Well, I don't have too many words of wisdom. I will just like to say that be happy whatever you do and be positive.
और क्या चाहिए सर, अभी तो वही चाहिए हमें सबको है ना?
Yeah.
So yeah, so well, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Let me take an opportunity to give you all vote of thanks. It's a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks to Mr. Mandeji, who despite his busy schedule has found time to grace this special interaction. We are extremely grateful to you for sharing your words of encouragement and giving us valuable inputs. Your eminent presence has indeed made this interaction a memorable one, and we unite to thank you from the bottom of our heart, your kindness, interest, and support. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. Stay safe, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.